Hey, everybody, and welcome back for a Tuesday edition of Lunch Break Live with me, Ivana. And it's been a crazy last week or so. I know that last week we were out every day. I'm back in my office situation, bringing out some interviews this week. And today I am joined by our own Ashley Remkus. Now, Ashley is our North Alabama reporter out of Huntsville. And Ashley brought us a story yesterday that came to the surface this weekend after a surveillance video was released. Now, this incident happened in March, and the incident we're talking about is where a Black business owner in Decatur called the police after he believed what he called a robbery was happening at his store, and then was punched in the face by a responding officer. Now, Ashley's here to break all this down for you, what we know and what we don't know as well. The police did call a press conference on Monday afternoon, giving a little bit of their comments and also providing a second video, which was from an officer's body cam. So if y'all have questions, please let me know. I'm looking on the side. We are going to show y'all those videos here, so stay tuned. But Ashley, first, why don't you tell us a little bit, give us a little context about the situation and what we're about to see.
Yeah, so again, as you mentioned, there was a surveillance video from Kevin Penn's liquor store over in Decatur, Alabama. It surfaced online this weekend. I can tell you that I reached out to, of course, the person who had posted it, asked them if they could provide any more information. We, started reaching out to police. We reached out to Mr. Penn, of course, the man who, as you mentioned, was punched on this video by an officer who responded to his store. From there, we watched the video. It shows that, some officers show up after what Mr. Penn's lawyer says was a call, for police to come to his store for, again, what he believed was a robbery. Once the police get there, you can see in the video that you'll watch in a minute, you can kind of see the first officer come through this front door or the door at the business. And then a second cop immediately, comes in behind him and almost immediately just punches Mr. Penn. And then there's a third cop that comes in. Mr. Penn is taken to the ground. He's arrested and charged with obstructing the police investigation of the robbery.
Well, I'm going to set this up so we can see this first video. While I'm doing that, Ashley, why don't you tell everybody this first video we're going to see is not the body cam video?
No, that's right. This is actually surveillance video. Again, this was released on the internet. This incident did happen back in March, but this video that we're going to watch now, this actually happened back on March 15th.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and play this, and there is no audio here, so y'all just stick with us. The video is about a minute long, excuse me. So we're going to play this now, and there is no audio, but you can watch it unfold. And Ashley, since there's not audio on this video, can you walk us through a little bit about what we're seeing that you know from your dealings with this case so far? Like, that is Mr. Penn, correct?
It is correct. That's Mr. Penn. As you can see, he was shown just a minute ago. You could see a gun in his hand. Mr. Penn and his lawyer say that he had this gun because he was holding the person that he believed, was robbing his store at gunpoint. He had already solved this crime for the police. He was just calling them to essentially take the person into custody. What you're seeing right now is Mr. Penn, according to his lawyer. Well, let me let y'all watch this part. Sorry, guys.
So let me exit out of that tab there and get that off. Now, let's talk about a little bit about what we just saw in that first video, Ashley. Now, again, this was an incident that happened in Decatur in March, on March 15th, I believe. And that incident was not widely reported on until this past weekend, where that clip, that portion of the surveillance video was released on social media. And that is how everybody heard about it and heard what had happened to Mr. Penn.
That's correct. In fact, I was completely unaware of this incident until Sunday night, very late, when a friend saw the video and sent it to me and had asked me, to look into it, potentially for a story. And as you saw in the video, Mr. Penn is there in his store. Again, this is surveillance video. You can see that he has a gun, which again, his lawyer says he was using to essentially hold a suspected robber in his mind at gunpoint. He believed he had solved the crime. He calls police, says, "Hey, this robber's here." Or that, someone's robbed me. And then the police come and he's going to hand over the suspect, essentially is what he was expecting. You could see him holding the gun in the video. You could also see, you can't see everything, the footage is not perfect, but you could see him kind of doing something with the gun or like parts of it. And if you guys want to rewatch that video, we'll make sure you get that links in the comments. But his lawyer says that essentially what he was trying to do was let the police know he had the gun by, walking toward the door, as we could see, with the gun in his hand. He wanted to make them aware, that he did have it. His lawyer says that he was removing the clip, trying to make sure there wasn't, around in the chamber. Essentially, his lawyer says he was trying to be safe and let the police know that he was armed.
Well, and something that Shone is making comment here saying, well, it looks like he put the gun on the counter. So this was something that you reported on. Again, we've got the link in your story here in the comments so people can check that out. And the links to those videos are also in the comments. We will show you the second video in just a minute. But from what you have learned from police was that Mr. Penn did put that gun on the counter, but had his hand on top of the gun and then also was holding a magazine in his other hand. Is that correct?
That was the indication we got from the police chief. Now, again, as you mentioned, we can watch the second video. Police actually, as they were discussing this at a press conference yesterday, they did mention that. They showed us some body camera video. Just full disclosure, this body camera video has been edited. The police had added some captions over it. There were some drawings, like it appeared they were trying to circle the gun. Parts of it were slowed down. So just keep that in mind as you're watching it. It's not unedited. Would you want to go ahead and show it, Ivana, and then we can maybe talk through that?
Right. Let's show this body cam. First, I'm just looking at some of y'all's comments. Let me first address, I know Jimmy Bowe said something, and I think somebody else did too. First and foremost, we're not giving you audio on that video because we don't have it. That video was released without audio. So that is not something that we're keeping from you. There was no audio attached to that video clip. So that's just something we want to make known right now. Now let's show the other video. Let me get this set up. And this is the body cam video that was released by the police on Monday. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So this is this Decatur Police Department body cam video of one of their responding officers. Again, this one is about a minute long. And like Ashley said, it has been edited. The police, they told her that is not something that we have just assumed. They have said it was edited. You will see at one point that there is a slow-mo clip in the video. So let's play that and then let you see how the body camera video shows. And that's where you see that video cut down to slow motion that says on the top. Again, you can see this video as with the other one in Ashley's story that we put in the comments. This does have audio, this body cam video. It's a little hard to hear in this platform, but you can see that in her story. Now, that first video was not provided with audio. The second one does have audio, but as you can see, this was something that reporters were allowed to shoot on their phone from that press conference, and they were not actually given the file themselves. So that was the body cam video. So we've got two separate videos. Again, the first one does not have audio. That is a piece of the surveillance video from the store, which is Star Spirits and Beverages, a liquor store on 6th Avenue in Decatur. That first video is a clip from surveillance. The second video was a part of a body cam video that was taken by one of the Decatur police officers. Again, if y'all didn't catch all of that, go look in the article that is in these comments down below, and you can check both of those videos out. Getting a lot of comments right here, Ashley, about his hand is on the gun or his hand is off the gun. Can you go over again just what you said about what the police have disclosed happened with Mr. Penn and his gun when the police arrived?
Yeah, and it's really important. There is a lot of confusion here. I want to be clear. These videos don't show everything. It did appear at one point that the gun maybe was on the counter next to him. The police chief said, in fact, yesterday that he believed the gun was on the counter, but that Mr. Penn maybe had put his hand over the gun, as if maybe they thought he was reaching for it. He had in his other hand apparently like a magazine from the gun that maybe the police officers believed to be a gun in the moment. I guess after, having seen him try to show it to him, that of course, could have made him believe that. I just can't really say. And again, as Ivana mentioned, it may have been hard for you guys to hear the audio on the body camera video, which did actually have some audio. There is in there an officer telling Mr. Penn essentially like, put down your gun. So it does appear that the officer at least believed that he had a gun in his hand or was reaching for it or, something like that. And you can hear Mr. Penn refuse to do so and say that he is going to, file a complaint against the police. Mm-hmm. And then right after that is when the officer comes in and lays the punch.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ashley. I'm getting a lot of questions. Okay. I just want to quickly, they're coming in fast, so I just want to quickly address them. Sure. Melinda, why is this not important 3 months ago and only relevant now? Melinda, that is because we did not know about this 3 months ago. It did happen 3 months ago, March 15th. But that video, that first video we showed you, that portion of the surveillance video, was not released until over the weekend. So that's the only time that we had heard about it. So that's why this was not reported on in March. A couple other questions about why would you show only a portion of the video if you don't have the whole video? I think Greg asked that. Let me be clear. This video was, again, not released until this past weekend. That portion that you saw of the video is all we got. There was not more than that released. And again, that first video was not provided with audio. The second video, the body cam video, is something that police released. That is not something that we as a news organization or anybody else independently obtained. That was something the department provided. And the department did say that they edited it. You can see in that body cam video that there is even a caption that says, I think 10% slow motion, where they slowed down the actual punch portion. So this is what we have been provided, and that is what we are providing you.
If you don't mind, yeah. Ivana, I just want to say too, we have requested to see and get copies of all of the body camera video unedited. Yes, the surveillance video does only show a portion of what happened, but I would say that's true of the police body camera video as well. Mm-hmm. The police also released a clip that's around a minute. We don't have timestamps on these videos. We really don't know exactly when these things occurred. We can't see every angle from which different officers were seeing things. We can't see, we can't see everything. And it mm-hmm. appeared at one point in the police video that maybe there was a suspect on the ground. So again, everything's really unclear, but we have filed public records requests to get copies of all of that body camera video so that you and the public can see that. I just want people to know that we're doing that.
Thanks, Ashley. And I know Steven's asked, is there no audio on the body cam? Yes, Steven, there is. It might have been a little bit hard to hear here on this this software platform that we're using to come to you right now, but you can click on the story in the comments, and that story has links to both videos, both the surveillance video and the body cam video. And you should be able to hear the audio on that body cam video when you click on it in the story. So, Steven, if you want to hear that audio and you didn't catch it here, go click on the story, and it is embedded from a YouTube video in that article. So just again, looking at some of these comments and trying to make sure that we get to all of them. Now, getting some questions about the actual incident that Mr. Penn called the police for. So according to Mr. Penn, he called because he said there had been a robbery. Now, something though I thought that was interesting, Decatur police said on Monday, was that they consider what the incident that happened at Mr. Penn's store to not be a robbery, but instead to be a simple shoplifting offense. Can you kind of provide some clarity on what the difference is here?
Yeah, so we don't have a whole lot of detail at this point about the person who was charged in whatever this theft situation was, be it robbery or whatever. We don't have that person's name yet. I've gone through several avenues trying to get that. We've requested that from police as well as, reports about what happened. But I can say that having covered crime for several years now, and just talking to people, there is usually a lot of confusion, I think, in the public about the difference between robbery or burglary or theft, like what the differences are there. Generally, with robbery, that's going to be something where there was a theft that involved force. So you have someone who was armed with a gun saying, "Give me your money," or whatever, or someone physically, assaults or something like that. So that's generally what robbery is. A lot of people just say I was robbed when really it was what police consider a theft legally. And so that's why they say it was a shoplifting. Essentially, in the police telling, the person did try to steal something. Unfortunately, I don't know what that is yet. Again, I've requested those records, but they say the person stole something, but it wasn't like they were armed with a gun or using force. Does that kind of help a little bit?
I think so. If y'all
Okay.
let us know if it doesn't explain that. I'm just looking over here at these comments, and now I do have some questions, like you said, about shoplifting. Saying, well, normally the police don't get called for shoplifting, and that is because Mr. Penn, I think it was Shown who asked that. Mr. Penn called police saying there was a robbery. Police are the people saying that this was a shoplifting case. So again, that's just another difference we have in the two sides of the story here. And again, this more of on what the officer said at this press conference on Monday afternoon can be found in that story link. And Ashley actually did live stream from that press conference as well, if you would like to go and see what you can gather from that press conference Monday afternoon. Now, this is a really interesting question. I want to bring it on the screen so we can talk about it. Daniel asked, why aren't there 3 body cam videos? And I think this is an interesting question because if you go back and look at the body cam video that Decatur police have released, they released body cam from one officer, but there were more than one officer on the scene. And I think that's what Daniel's referring to here. So did police and the chief give you any idea why that specific officer's body cam was the one that was released?
They did not. Again, thanks for that question, Daniel. That's something that, again, I have requested that we be allowed to see all of the body camera video and also receive copies of it unedited. I don't know why they chose the one that they did. And again, they did not provide us an actual digital copy of this video. They played it on a television screen inside the room where they did the press conference, and reporters, of course, were able to watch it. And we were on Facebook Live at the time doing the streaming the press conference. So I actually just turned our camera around and was able to record the recording as it was playing on the television screen. So that also explains, I think, part of why the quality of that body camera video does not look great in the video footage that we have. So hopefully we will get to see, under Alabama's open record laws, the full unedited footage. That's our goal.
Now, this is another good question from Michael. He said, did the cop say why he hit the store owner? This was something you addressed in your story, and the person with the police department who spoke yesterday at that press conference said, well, I would rather have an officer involved punch than an officer involved shooting. So can you give a little clarity on that and answer what you can to Michael's question?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Michael. Unfortunately, I have not been able to speak directly to this officer himself. I am in the process of requesting personnel records, that sort of thing, to try to actually verify his identity. I'm sure that some people who watch the video may know him, may be aware of him. I have not been able to confirm even what his name is. The police yesterday declined to release that, his name or any of the other officers who were at the scene. The officer did not attend the press conference. What we did hear from the chief yesterday is that essentially police go in there, they're expecting to be investigating a robbery, which, as I said earlier, oftentimes would imply that there's some kind of weapon involved in the police's mind. So they show up, they see someone with a gun, and in their telling, essentially, they mistook Mr. Penn for the robber. And as Ivana said, the chief essentially said, we want to use the least amount of force possible. And he said that essentially punching somebody was better than shooting them.
And I'm just putting something here from one of our colleagues who is clearing up a little bit of the theft versus or the robbery versus shoplifting charge. Thank you for that, Jeremy. This is just some information there. I know we have a lot of questions about why does that matter in the comments. So this is the explanation of that. And
yeah,
again, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I see Jeremy's comment, and that is very much true. Jeremy says, I don't know if y'all can see it on your end, but he essentially says that a shoplifting can become a robbery charge if you use force. Again, putting your hands on someone or shove past them or anything like that. And actually, I do just feel like I need to say this. I think that it's not uncommon for police to get called to a shoplifting. They may not respond in the same way to a shoplifting that they would in a robbery. There probably wouldn't be as many officers. But I don't think it's fair to say that police don't get called to shoplifting scenes. I feel like I need to just clarify that.
Something that I was looking here, I think Steve made a comment saying the audio plays a huge role in my opinion. And if anybody has joined us late, that first video that we showed did not have audio, the portion of the surveillance footage from the Stars Spirits and Beverages store that happened and the incident that happened on March the 15th, that did not have audio. We were not provided audio. The second video that we talked about, the body camera video, does have some audio. Both of those videos can be found in Ashley's article, and that's what Steve is talking about. So just if you're joining late and you're getting confused about what has audio and what doesn't, there is audio in body cam, no audio in surveillance. Both are in Ashley's story. So both of those things can be found there. And if you're interested, you can watch those several times and you can watch each of them back to back through that story. And you don't have to rewind us and go back and look if you would like to. Now, an interesting question we've got here from Karen. Karen said, he, meaning Mr. Penn, told 911 that he was holding the suspect at gunpoint. Did 911 not pass that info along to law enforcement? And that's a really good question, Karen.
It is. And that's one of the things that I have not actually at this point been able to hear or see a transcript of the 911 call. His lawyer, Mr. Penn's lawyer, has told us that, he called police to report that he was holding a suspect at gunpoint. Again, we don't know the full details behind that. That's part of what we've requested as well. I would think that if 911 was told that yes, they would have told the officers. I can't say for sure, though, whether that did in fact happen in this case. Though the police response, multiple officers, it was clearly because they believed that there was a robbery, a felony, that changes their response. So to me, I don't think the police would have been surprised to find a gun there necessarily. I mean, I can't get inside their heads, but clearly their response was for what they believe to be a robbery, which often implies a weapon. The chief actually said that yesterday too. That was part of the reason why their response was as large as it was, the number of officers.
Right. Now, interesting, it's not really a question, but more of an observation from David. He says, well, the person who Mr. Penn had called, assumingly had called the police on, was lying on the floor. And David says that officers stepped over him. So he makes that comment about how do the officers or how do the police department say that they stepped over a man lying on the floor and walked towards the owner, believing he could have been the robber.
So that's what it appears to me as well. It appears to me that the person laying on the floor is the suspect. I don't really know who else it could have been at this point. Again, we just don't have a whole lot of information about the suspect. But I noticed that too, that it seemed as if that happened. But again, because that body camera video was edited, I'm not even sure at this point that we can be sure in what order things happen. Does that make sense? I mean, that's why we definitely want to see all the unedited body camera video. If that's helpful. I know that's not a great answer, but that's kind of what we have.
One thing I want to address too quickly, Timothy says, police always ask citizens to drop their weapons when they arrive. That is usually true, Timothy. You are right there. Another comment from David saying that it seems that Mr. Penn, took the clip out of the gun and placed it on the counter And that is what he believes he saw. And again, both of those videos are available if you want to watch them. But that is what Mr. Penn and his attorney say happened, that he put the gun down on the counter, his hand was above it, and he had a magazine in his other hand. That is what Mr. Penn and his lawyers say happened, correct?
Ivana, do you mind if I jump back a little bit to Timothy's comment? Yes, that about the gun, about dropping the gun. The chief talked about that yesterday too. One of the things that he said, when we asked him, when you first saw this video, 3 months ago, what was your initial reaction? And I don't remember the exact direct quote, but essentially he said that his initial reaction was that he was taught when the police tell you to do something, you do it. And he was referring to dropping the weapon, from what I can tell. And he also said, just to the public, please, if we tell you to do that, please drop your weapon. He really said that he hoped that the citizens, when they interact with police, would follow orders, essentially.
And in that body cam video, the one that does have audio, it can be heard officers saying to drop the weapon. Is that correct?
Yes. I don't remember the exact phrasing, but essentially, yes, they're telling him to drop a weapon. Again, whether the weapon was actually in his hand is still very much in question. The chief said that he believed that the weapon was on the counter, that Mr. Penn's hand may have been over it. His hand, sorry, I'm not sure if that was clear, may have been over the weapon. And in Mr. Penn's other hand, that, there was some kind of magazine from the gun or something like that, that police may have mistaken to be a weapon, that sort of thing.
Right. Well, and I know that you've got a lot of things to follow up on, Ashley, here. We appreciate all of you for your questions. Again, if you're interested on learning more about this story and watching those videos again, feel free to click Ashley's link to Ashley's article in the comments. It should be here, posted by AL.com. That link, you can click it, watch both of the videos, and also read more about what happened. And Ashley will stay on this for us and keep us up to date with the latest information.
Thanks.
Thank y'all so much. And for all of you watching, we will see you tomorrow.